I was sick on Friday and I didn't do any schoolwork.
You didn't do any schoolwork, that's so wrong.
I was
Here, let's
really
go ahead.
sick.
Collect homework, what have you guys got?
I got here. Oh, I gotta cut it up for you. I brought gluten-free stuff. I'll share some of my Oreos.
Okay, so now,
Yes, they have gluten-free Oreos.
start canning some of this stuff.
Yay. Yeah.
Yours.
What did you do?
Just vacuum the floor.
No problem.
Wait,
Who was that guy over by your
My
car?
oh, cool.
At first we were like, who is that guy?
It's his birthday today.
It's LaSalle. Okay. LaSalle.
So you know, boyfriends are bad.
This one's good.
They
We
ruin
went
your life.
over this last week, didn't we?
How would you know? That this one's good. I promise.
I'm a guy,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I would know.
Yeah, you did.
Okay. Okay, not bad. Progressing.
Progress is always good, except if you're part of the progressive party, and then
Oh.
progressive politically we don't like.
Switch those two around. Those are
Why did I read so much?
Look
Look at how much I wrote.
What were you thinking?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's funny. I get 100% on the hardest, on the hard one, and I miss a few points on the easy.
Yeah, that's what usually happens.
Yeah, but it's not much.
I know, I saw that. I saw.
Okay, so while we're waiting on Alex, we might as well hand back the test when he gets in, since he's coming.
Oh, I want to know what I got. Is it good?
You
Is
do?
it bad?
No, you guys don't.
Is it really bad?
This was like the lowest average score in the class I've ever had.
I'm terrified.
So, yes, so it'll be interesting. So some people would think, well, man, since we scored so low, you'll make the next test easier.
I was gonna say.
Actually go the
Yeah,
other
that's what I was
direction.
Yeah, if we get like a 60 on this test, what are we gonna get in the last one?
Yeah, it's gonna be, yeah. Yeah, so we'll go over that when Alex gets here. So while we're waiting, current events. Why you guys are panicking?
The Supreme Court ended up, Texas abortion access law.
And what they say?
I don't know.
You don't
I
know?
was using that article for one of my activity sheets. So
Oh, cool.
they say it's okay, but it's not.
Yes.
Somebody bombed the Republican station thing in North Carolina.
Yes, they, somebody bombed a Republican headquarters in North Carolina. I haven't heard who's done it, or who's taken responsibility, but with all of the protests going on in North Carolina, it's kind of not a surprise that it would happen, unfortunately.
And Hillary was like, I'm glad nobody got hurt. And
Yes.
Trump gave like this tweet that was like something powerful. It sounds really weak. Something powerful. I don't know what.
That would be Hillary.
Where is their Republican headquarters?
They're all over the place. They usually have one in each state, and in many cases in each major city or different cities, so there's a bunch of them.
So which one, where is this one?
This one was in, somewhere in a city in North Carolina.
What's it called?
I don't know.
Okay.
I only caught wind of this story first thing this morning, and I'm not exactly sure.
'Cause that's where my grandparents on my dad's side lives.
North Carolina?
Yeah.
I doubt it was near them.
Good.
And nobody was killed, so I don't think you have to worry about them.
They
I don't
probably
think they were hurt.
detonated the bomb before it could blow up.
After that, my mom said, that's why we don't have a Trump sign.
There's a lot of Trump signs around, nobody's gotten hurt yet. But I don't think you win people over by putting a sign in your yard anyway, so I'm not one for putting signs in the yard. Well, we just started with current events, so nothing,
Here in the world.
nothing major. So, yeah, so it's kind of like bumper sticker theology. Why? You know, you put, my favorite one is, you know, Jesus is the answer. What's the question?
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that one drives me nuts. People think, well, maybe somebody would come to Christ if I had this Jesus bumper sticker on my car. Sorry if your parents have a Jesus bumper sticker on their car. I'm not one for them. Besides, I don't even like putting something that says I'm at the chapel on my car or something like that, because if you drive too slow, you tick off the people who want to drive fast. If you drive too fast, you tick the people off who drive too slow. So if you have some bumper sticker on your car that says I'm for Jesus or something like that, you're liable to go, those stupid Christians, they're all, you know, hypocrites, they're speeding. You know, oh my goodness, they gotta obey the law so bad that they drive 5 miles an hour under the speed limit. Get off the road. So you're one of those things that's, you know, witnessing with your car is not the best way. So unless you're a Muslim and you're gonna use it as a car bomb and you're gonna blow something up. Just saying. Yeah, these were your completed ones. Oh, that one, that one. Yeah, cool. That's all set.
Okay, so I really need to know, scores.
No, we're still on current events, so I have to wait till current events are over. You'll survive. So, what else? Anything else?
Is the Indians, they won?
Yeah, the Indians won. They're up 2-0 in Toronto. Did you guys hear about the lawsuit they're involved in today?
Oh, the Toronto one where he doesn't want to learn like the Indian.
Correct.
Wait, what?
There's a group in there is a group in Toronto that has filed a lawsuit against the Cleveland Indians to ban them from wearing their uniforms. So my thought is if they get banned and not allowed to wear the Indians or they're not even allowed to use the name. They can't say Indians.
Wait, why?
Well, because Canada does not have freedom of speech the same way the United States does.
Oh.
Well, so if somebody files a lawsuit that you've made them feel bad, then they can keep you from doing something. If you're a pastor in Canada and you preach against homosexuality and somebody files a complaint, you could go to prison because it's anti-gay. If you're a pastor and you say, or anybody, and you say something against Muslims, they can file a lawsuit and have you thrown in prison for saying things against Muslims. So they don't have a freedom of speech amendment to their constitution like we do here in the United States.
We do? No.
No, barely. It's barely in place, but we're kind of, the sad thing is we're kind of sliding more towards stuff in Canada that, well, people shouldn't say something that offends me. Oh, you cry, you little tear. I'm sorry. You know, grow up. That's what I usually want to say to people like that. Get a spine, would you?
Didn't like the Redskins go through like the same thing?
The Redskins actually lost because of the patent office. If I remember the story correctly, because this is like, oh my goodness, like 8-9 months ago, the patent office, I think, revoked the Redskins trademark on their stuff, that they couldn't trade, because you're not allowed to trademark something that's racial. You know, you can't have like something that's anti-Jew or anti-black or something like that as part of your trademark. So what they did is somebody filed a lawsuit, and Washington ended up losing their trademark on. So that means if you and I wanted to, we could start a business and just print Redskins paraphernalia and not have to pay the license fees for it. That's what that means. So yes, the Redskins went through the same thing. My kind of feeling with the Toronto, if they're going to make it illegal for the Indians to play, then what they can do is they can just move the game to a place here in the United States, and they can play somewhere here in the United States. We'll be more than happy to take their money. If they don't want to allow free speech from somebody from America, too bad, so sad. We'll keep our money here in the States, and you can lose all that tax revenue. So we'll see what happens when the judge rules, probably sometime today. But I think the Indians are kind of cognizant of some of that stuff. So their road jersey says Cleveland rather than Indians on it. But the problem with their current jersey is they have Chief Wahoo, little Chief Wahoo logo on their sleeve. So that could be considered illegal in Canada. But even the Indians have kind of removed Chief Wahoo off their hat. They just now have the C. So I don't know. It'd be interesting just to watch the game just to see if they change it from Indians to Cleveland and only, don't say Indians or anything like that. It's only Cleveland. So that'll be interesting. So feel happy that you live in the United States at least in the current moment. You have the freedom to be a racist and for people to say things that you don't like what they hear. Because freedom is about not what you like, but what you actually don't like. Because if you really want to have freedom in a country, then you have to put up somebody like Colin Kaepernick, who protests the national anthem. But the nice thing about being in the United States is I don't have to give them my money. So that's one way you can, just ask the Dixie Chicks. Do you guys know who the Dixie Chicks are?
No.
Okay, you guys see? Yeah. Okay, so shortly after the Gulf War started, back a long time ago, they actually got up and at one of their concerts said something pretty derogatory about the United States. And okay, this is country music, where most of the songs were about going over there and kicking somebody's rear end, clear to kingdom come, and we're going to kill all of you. And they come out and say this. Well, in the country music thing, they just went right off the face of the earth here in the United States. So I don't think they've done a concert here in a long time. I don't know. I don't hear much, so. But that's what happens. Anything else?
Actually, this was in that branch thing that we
Yeah.
Obama on Thursday, he had headlines, Obama expands his executive power beyond Earth. And he let's see, signed an executive order Thursday to prepare the federal government to deal with the effects of space weather events. So,
Because he cares. I got an interesting text the other day. Somebody texted the wrong number, and they were from a group called Next Gen Environmental, and they were asking if they were working to get people who are, how was it phrased, climate voters. So people who care about the climate, making sure they get registered to vote, because of course global warming's coming. As I like to say, gee, we could use a little bit more. I'm enjoying this weather right now. And it would be nice if maybe Ohio became the new Florida, because then we could all go swim more often in Lake Erie. And maybe we'll get some more people to visit here and make a lot of money. So I'm all for climate change. Although I like winter. Yes,
I got robbed on Friday.
Yeah, it
You
was
got-
awful.
Robbed on Friday? Really?
At first I thought it was just Ben's. I was like, oh, she's probably kidding. But then he worked
Oh, yeah.
Where were you robbed at?
Here.
Yeah.
I forgot to lock my car, and I guess someone like watched me go out because I went out there like after chemistry on Friday, and I got like food out of it, and then
What got stolen out of the car?
my charger and a couple like quarters and stuff. But like
Oh,
my
not
car
much.
yeah, but my car was a wreck. Like everything was everywhere. They didn't take my like camera lens,
Okay.
which I don't know why, because that was like that's the most expensive thing I have in my car.
Well, but see, that's hard those things are hard to sell. They wanted something quick and easy. Just so you guys know, our parking lots are videotaped. So
So
you could have like come back in and said, Mr. Sharkey, and we could have filed a police report and.
That was great. My dad told me not to because it's a waste of my time because I don't have insurance on. But
Right, yeah, we wouldn't get insurance on it, but maybe we could.
Okay.
So,
fine.
Now, next, I'll have to go back to our camera and see if I can see who it is and see if we can
It's
get a
not-
description.
It's not like a blonde kid because he came in my car and I knew he was in my
Right.
car.
I know who it's not.
Okay.
Plus, we find it between certain time frame.
Yeah, it would be between,
Well, 12 and 2:30.
yeah.
Yes, do not leave stuff in your car.
I leave my keys in my car.
Because that.
I'm glad you're willing to give your car
Oh
away.
my gosh. Okay. Stupid story about my brothers. So sometime in the summer, my brother decided that he wanted to see what it was like to be blind. Okay, he's 20 years old. He's just ridiculous. So,
Okay.
he's like,
Is he voting for Hillary? Oh, okay, just want to make
he
sure.
wanted to see what it's like to be blind. So he put a bandana over his face, like in the morning, and then went the whole day with it on his face. Well, it was a Saturday, and my other brother, Andrew, was like, all right, we're gonna go driving around and just do stuff. So they went like on a country road, and then they were driving back through the neighborhoods, and Christopher got out for some reason. Oh, yeah, Christopher got out, cause yeah. And my brother, Andrew, was going to make sure I didn't like run into anything. And Andrew left the car keys in the car. And so Christopher was freaking out. He's like, wait, why can't I get in the car? He's like, I accidentally left the car keys in the car. So they had to walk back to my house, which was like 4 blocks away. And yeah, it was, Chris was like, I'm never going blind again. But then when I got home, like they told
He
me.
wasn't driving, was he?
No. When I
Just
got
making
home-
sure.
Yeah, when I got home, Christopher was trying to make himself like a bagel and then like put butter and peanut butter on it. But I'm the main little sister, so I took the butter away, and he was so confused. And then I like gave it back, and he accidentally smashed his hand in the butter.
Oh.
And then I like took the peanut butter away and like gave it back. He didn't do anything with that. But then I took the knife away because he's blind. He should not have a
Yeah,
knife.
no, didn't know.
So he didn't even know. He didn't know I was home, so he was really confused as to why all these things were disappearing. And yeah, so those are my brothers for you, so you all know. They're not smart.
Did he find out that you had done all that?
Like 20 minutes later, after I was like, "Hey, Christopher," and he's like, he freaked out because he couldn't see me. That's so cool.
So, what was it?
That's
The joke when we were growing up is that you know how to tease a blind person, right? You rearrange the furniture.
Yeah.
There's a bad version of that joke.
Yeah. Yes. There's a lot of times there are Helen Keller jokes and picking on poor Helen Keller, who is a liberal, by the way. So, anything else? Browns lost, of course.
Ohio State had a really good game against Wisconsin.
Yeah, that was a close game.
I
Those are
can't.
one bubble.
Let's see, the Big Ten has, well, I don't know if Wisconsin's still in the top 10 or not, but they're,
So far, I mean,
well, they were 8
They were,
going
they were.
into it. Yeah, they shouldn't, I mean, as well as they played against Ohio State, they really shouldn't lose their ranking. But Big Ten has 4 teams in the top 10, so that's, Nebraska was at 10. They barely beat Indiana. They beat them by 5, I think. Ohio State won, Michigan, and then Wisconsin. Those are the 4 teams in the top 10. Yes.
Trump said that all the claims for like the 11
Oh, yes.
were false.
Yeah, the,
What?
There were 11, like 9.
did you hear that so last week, it came out that Trump said some derogatory stuff about women, basically what they call locker room talk. Like I said, don't date guys, they're basic.
I saw something that was like, you guys think this is locker room talk? Obviously, you've never been in the kitchen before. It's so cool.
That is very true.
So all this stuff came out, and it was pretty funny. Michelle was like, "Oh, men don't talk. Real men don't talk like this." And on Rush Limbaugh, he's like, "Excuse me. Let's see, how many of these rappers have you had on which have sexually explicit lyrics that talk derogatory about women? And you're getting on Trump for talking derogatory about women? Really?" So, I mean, just really hypocritical. And then came out that this one girl was accusing Trump of raping her. And then there was another one that came out, one of the people that came out saying that Trump sexually harassed her was later, they just recently, back in April, she wrote a letter to, who was it? She wrote a letter to Trump for when he was coming in town during the campaign back in April, saying she'd love to get with him and meet him and stuff like that. She's some owner of a restaurant and stuff, and talking glowingly about Trump. Well, gee, if Trump had sexually harassed you, would you be saying nice things about the guy? So somebody has somehow gotten this lady to come out and say that, say some nasty things about him. Probably offered her some money.
It was like, oh, Trump assaulted you 30 years ago. You should wait until he like runs for president and then you say something.
That's right. That's right.
My dad says that he's owned his own private plane for like 38 years, and somebody said that he was on a plane like 30 years ago.
Yep. Yeah, it's the thing that you run into is what's driving me nuts is there's a number of people out there that are going, well, if we'd had any other candidate other than Trump, this wouldn't be going on. Wrong. Does anybody remember when Mitt Romney ran and they had a story about the fact that he had strapped his dog carrier to the roof of his truck so that the dog could be outside, because the dog and he was, this is on his farm. So it was on his ranch. It's not like he's driving downtown in traffic, but he strapped the dog carrier up there, put the dog up there so the dog could sniff the air as he's driving by. You know how the dogs stick their head out. Well, he got lambasted for not caring for animals because of that. And they ripped him apart on some of these things. And it's just like, really? So I love the fact the Hillary campaign is coming out against Trump for all these allegations, when Hillary is married to a guy who has also been accused of rape, has, of course, had sex with somebody who's not his wife in the Oval Office at the White House with an intern who was really young. And so here's Hillary talking about what Trump has done. Yeah. And Hillary was actually the person to kind of destroy the women who came forward against Bill. So she would go in and do what they called the bimbo eruptions. It was because they called all these women bimbos and sluts and gold diggers and all kinds of things back during the 90s. It's pretty bad. Okay, so Tess back. Like I told you, the scores were not as good as what, huh? One of them.
I can't look.
So the average score was actually one of the lowest that I've ever seen in one of our tests. So considering this was open book, they all should have been a lot better. Open book does not mean I don't have to study. Also, remember, I'm going to open up one. I send you a document to help you study. So this is coming up. We got test number 2 coming up soon. So I send you this document called What You Need to Know. The nice thing about this What You Need to Know document is it's what you need to know. So it kind of goes through here for you as a study guide. And so that you can actually go through and see what's going on, and that you can kind of follow along. And the neat thing too with this is it goes through the chapter piece by piece. So you shouldn't have any problems following it. So there's chapter 5, there's chapter 6. List the names of, now, not everything. Not everything that's on here is going to be on the test, but this gives you a great place to start at, which, of course, in 2 weeks is your next test over chapter 5, 6, 7, and 8. So, and there's chapter 8 right there. So right now we're looking at chapter 7. So what you need to know, the Northwest Ordinance, Confederation, Shays Rebellion, the Constitutional Convention, slavery, the 3/5 Compromise. What does that mean? Federalists, Anti-Federalists, the Federalist Papers. There's even the Anti-Federalist Papers, which one of those I'd like to read because I'm actually becoming more of an anti-federalist than an actual follower of federalism, just because it doesn't take into account that people overall are evil. Now, do not panic, because in my class, your tests are not worth 50% of your grade. They're worth a measly, like, what, 20%, something like that.
Like 20 or 25.
25? Okay, so most of you are doing very, very well on every other aspect of the class. So even if you got 0 points on your test, you'd at least get a 75 in my class. So does that make you feel a little better? Because most of you are like scoring, close to 100% on everything else. At least in the mid to upper 90s. So one is don't panic. If you have questions, please see me. Some help on studying. Also, Tim, do you have yours? I don't have a sample one, so I'm going to borrow yours. Don't worry, I'm going to hide the score. Okay. So like a couple of these, everybody in this class missed question number 2.
What was it? It was.
Okay, Luther's religious ideas spread primarily because of
Oh my gosh!
the development of movable printing. Gutenberg's press.
Oh, I get it now.
Yes. So it's kind of, okay, so here's the sense of questions.
I thought it was that. I'm like, wait.
Yeah, I went back and
Oh,
forth
my-
between the two and just like,
I think B.
All of you picked wrong. So here's the deal with how a good test is designed. You have the basic questions, probably 75% of those, you have basic questions. Then you have about 10 to 15% are harder questions, then you get a little bit harder. And then you always have about 5% of your test, maybe up to 10%, are going to be questions that are going to separate the A's from the B's. So what you're trying to do is figure out where you land, or that's what these tests try to do. Now, I probably, on my test, tend to have more than 5 to 10% of difficult questions because, again, my goal is to try to get you to think, which is why I put on the back this question here, this bonus one, which I had one person answer.
what bonus question?
There's a bonus question on this discuss the impact of the Mayflower Compact on the formation of the American government.
Yeah, after writing all
US
of the other
Constitution.
essays, I was like, I'm not doing this. My hand hurt.
Yep. Understandable, yes.
So like for future tests, I know, when you sent out all the attachments, so
Mhm.
this one you sent the essay questions in email,
Mhm.
or in just an email thing?
Yeah.
Not an attachment. Are we allowed to like, not really write the actual essay, but like write a rough draft of it? Or?
Yes,
Okay.
That's what I did. I like took a separate piece of.
I-
And then take the test.
you have to remember what my point of the essay questions are. If I have an essay question, the purpose of an essay question is because I think that this idea or concept is very, very important. And so therefore, what I want you to do is beforehand is to study it so that when you do go through the test, you can answer it. My goal is for all of you to get 100% on the test. Because in life, a good manager or a good teacher wants to impart everything that's important. Now, of course, there's sometimes, unfortunately, in tests, we have non-essential, non-important questions that you have to do. But there are certain things that I want you to know. So that's the reason why I give you the essay questions, so that you can then go through and study those questions and have a good understanding of what it is. So yes, you could actually go through and create an outline of what the answer in there. Remember, these are open book. Now, open book for an hour. The reason why I only have open book for an hour is because I find with open book tests, we tend to go, it's open book, I just take it anytime I want. And then you don't study. So that's why I say open book for an hour, because then what you have to do is you have to go through and go, okay, I'm going to do a review, go through, maybe do my outline for my essay questions, come up with that, and then I'm going to come back and then I'll take the test. I'll take the test first and then I'll open my book after I take the test. I mark the questions that I'm not sure of and I go back through and I double check them. That's really the best way of doing open book. So if I feel like you guys aren't studying, then I go, like I said, I don't try to make things easier because my goal here is to teach you, because really I try to teach this as like a college level course, in the sense that I want you guys to be ready if you decide to go to college. And just saying college isn't for everybody, but if you're going to go, I want you ready. I want you to be able to do well with the answers and be thinking ahead of schedule on these things so that you're ready for that college level type class. Now, this is your first test, so don't panic because you did poorly. Nobody in this class scored the lowest ever on any of my class, any of these tests. So you had one person who got less than 50 in this class, 50%. So nobody here scored something that's not that we should go, oh, I'm going to kill myself over this. No, nothing's worth that much. I typically usually get somebody who scores over 100%, but nobody did that. So use the book, use it wisely, go through, learn to mark your questions that you have questions on, go back through. If you're unsure of something, just, look through it. Some of the, the questions I hate the most when I'm taking a test is the ones, the Reformation did all of this but this.
Yes.
I hate those
Those
questions.
are the worst.
But they do what I want them to do, which is make you think about the question rather than just fly through it. So many people just fly through these things and go. The other one that I hate is, the Reformation did all of this, and the last question is all of the above. Oh, I'm not sure. Did it really do this one? It looks like maybe these two, but I'm not sure about the third one. Oh no! Yeah. So that's, and essay questions, essay. I'm gonna send you guys an example of a good essay question for like what should have been done on the first one. Or actually these first couple, so that you get the points. You understand what I'm saying. Again, it's about learning, it's about teaching you to think. It's about getting you ready for the college. And I know anybody, how many in here are, anybody freshmen? How many sophomores? Okay, juniors? No seniors?
No,
Okay,
they had to deal with this stuff already,
what?
the seniors.
So this is an honors level class. So you get, you guys know the beer teas?
Yeah, somehow, I don't know.
No.
My family knows
Okay.
it.
The beer teas. Rhonda Beer Tea, her oldest daughter is Kiri, and her youngest daughter is Michaela, and her son's Mitch. Well, Kiri struggled a lot in my classes. She would get, she would score really low on the tests. She'd work hard on her homework, which would help keep her grade up, but she got like a low B, high C most of the time in the class. So I told her, I said, listen, a B or a C in this class is like getting an A in public school. She didn't believe me. So then she went to Copley High School, and she's like, she came back, oh, Mr. Sharkey, you are so right. They are so stupid in public school. So not all public schools are they stupid, but yeah, like some of the stuff that she was taking. So again, and also remember, the key here is progress. Learning from this, learning to be a better student. If the grade average continues to be low, again, like I said, I don't make it easier, I actually make it harder. What I typically then do is say, oh, okay, so you're struggling studying, so I'm going to force you to study. So you'll get one sheet of paper. And you can have front and back, and that's where you can put your notes, and that's all you get. You can use your notes as long as you want, but that's all you get is your notes. So we want to do better on the next test, which is due not this coming week, but the next week. Yes?
So on the next test, is it gonna be like, are we gonna take it the same as this test?
Yep.
Or is it, okay, so there's another chance?
It's going to be just like this. Remember, there are 2 tests. So if you can score 100 on this, take that score plus the other test, average them together. So like I said, nobody in here has completely blown themselves out of the water and getting a good grade in the class. And there's also always extra credit, which I'm even open if you come up with something on your own. So, okay?
This is the next test to do next week, right?
No, not next week, in 2
2
weeks. Yeah.
Whatever the pictorial things do.
Yeah, same week it's the pictorial thing, which I think I forgot to send you an example.
You
of that,
did,
didn't
because I started working on it, and I was like,
Yes.
For like, you sent something out for the government project.
Yes,
But it's not printing out for me.
okay,
I think it needs to be a PDF for me.
okay, I'll send you a PDF, okay, yeah, I've got a PDF of it, so I'll send you the PDF. Yeah, I sent you the Word document because a lot of people like to take the Word document and,
Yeah, it's just, I don't think it works on my printer.
yeah.
What's wrong with your PowerPoint, Mr. Sharkey?
Huh?
What's wrong with your PowerPoint?
Nothing's wrong with my PowerPoint.
Oh, it just says that, all those boxes say.
Oh, that's because I'm teaching government, so typically in my history class, the year I'm not teaching government, I do we spent some time on those 5,000 year leap, so we're going through each of those principles in class rather than in government. But since you guys are doing it in government, I don't want to bore you in government class and get you twice. So I try to be nice, and hopefully it sinks in at least the first time in government class. Except for Poor guy over here, you know, decides not to stay in government.
Nay. I said that perfectly loud enough, but I can't.
Yeah.
So, you're welcome.
Okay, any other questions on the test?
No.
Okay, yes.
Are you gonna mail these to our school supervisors of our local districts? And
What?
say, look at how bad these kids did. They snatched them up and take them from me and put them in public school.
No,
Yeah.
I will run to Italy. Run, and I don't run. That's it.
Oh my god.
Unless there's a soccer ball? Why would you run to Italy?
Because I don't want to win.
You could run across water, that's impressive.
Yeah, I'm secretly Jesus, guys.
I'm going
Last-
to Canada if Hillary gets elected.
You're going to Canada?
Because my grandparents are in Canada.
Oh,
I
well, I
would-
guess that makes sense.
I decided that.
Yeah,
was
John
I'm moving to
Carter Golf.
Texas because when they
You're in
secede from the
Canada.
Union, we'll be safe. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if that will happen. Okay, so chapter 7. I don't know why they call this the critical period. But it's like, it's really the foundation of everything. So of course, our first attempt at a self-government comes up with this stupid thing of the Confederation. So they really what they do is they create this form of government where the federal government is just too weak. They can't enforce anything and they can't put requirements on the states to make the states work together, and they can't tax the people, and they can't regulate commerce, and it's just a complete and utter mess. But the one thing that comes out of this that is actually good is the Northwest Ordinance. And so one of the things that you're going to have to know is the steps required by the Northwest Ordinance. Anybody remember what they are?
Oh, complete government? Wait, no. There's like 3 of them, isn't there?
Yep, there's three phases. So it becomes a territory, but it has to, let's see, it says here, so.
It has to have like a certain amount of.
Yeah, Northwest Ordinance 1787, here it is. The territory was to be divided into at least 3, but not more than 5 states. Each would be, went through 3 stages. First stage, the region remained almost completely under the direct control of the federal government. When a region had at least 5,000 free people, could then elect a legislature and send a representative to Congress. However, the governor, still appointed by the national government, could veto any act passed by the territorial legislature, and the territorial representative to Congress could not vote. In the third stage, once a territory had 60,000 free inhabitants, it could draw up a state constitution and be admitted to the Union on equal basis with the other states. So once they, of course, nowadays, so they would get representation in the federal government, but that person would not be allowed to vote. Also, understand what was the provision for education under the Northwest Ordinance. Do you guys remember that one? Build on other provisions are noteworthy. Building on the educational provision in the Land Ordinance of 1785, Northwest Ordinance explicitly emphasized the importance of education, religion, morality, and knowledge being necessary to good government and the happiness of mankind. Schools and the means of education shall forever be encouraged. These are one of those things that actually the people who are proponents of public school push that from early on. The Northwest Ordinance and our founding fathers were for public school. Not necessarily. What they said is that education should be encouraged, not necessarily a requirement or the state running it. So, yes.
I think if our founding fathers saw public school today, then they'd all have heart attacks and die.
they probably would. Okay, as actually, most of them would be far, less educated. They would see that we're far less educated today than what we were back then. That most of the people were far more educated than what we are now. Anybody here ever read the Federalist Papers? If you're going to, I recommend reading them in the new modern English version because they actually translate a little bit better.
Yeah, I started reading it and I was like, I don't understand any of this, so I stopped.
And just so you know, that was written for your average farmer to read back in those days. Yes, so we have a hard time understanding the Federalist Papers today, but again, they used language differently than what how we use it today. Of course, when they said, hey, that's bad, they meant it's bad. When we go, oh man, that's bad, we might actually mean that's good. And so we can kind of
No, or they'd be like, oh, that's sick. Like,
and they were like, somebody's sick? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's the other one.
That's dope. Dope.
Yeah. Who's a dope? Don't say those kinds of things.
Hipsters.
So, yeah, hipsters.
Not
Let's say,
just hipsters.
She's a hipster.
can you try?
She has a.
Somebody, here would be an interesting thing. Think about the fact that George Washington came back today. Could somebody explain to him what a hipster is?
Oh boy.
It would be really hard, wouldn't it?
Slang.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily true though, because like they. Ooh.
No, that's a
I
gangster.
don't really want to know like what the actual definition is though. So.
Yeah.
Let's-
I think people just throw the
Let's
word
just
around
stop
just to try to make it seem like they're cool.
Mhm.
Well, it's a hipster cafe. Okay, why is it hipster? I don't know, it just is. Okay, that's good.
Because most of
Yes.
the cool people go there.
Think about the way they dress,
Could be vibrant.
When
especially
men
like
are
the way
hipsters.
females dressed.
Yeah, big poofy dresses.
Yeah.
I would have died.
Just don't take them to the beach. Whatever you do, don't take them to the beach.
Why not?
Like the VW
Oh.
brand.
Yeah.
And,
Which actually we saw one the other
Crazy
day. It was a
hairstyles,
pretty
too. I
blue and
love-
white. It was really, it's like, wow. So also, why did the Confederation fail?
Because they're all stupid. That's my reason. Because they went into debt.
They went into debt, right?
Couldn't
What?
they,
Go ahead.
couldn't they like not tax the people because the people were so scared of taxes that
And remember, the Confederation was pretty stupid in what they tried to do, but remember the fact that coming out of the Revolutionary War, the colonists were a little leery of having a strong federal government that had just enacted all these taxes on it. So the Confederation really helped establish the need that, you know what, we need states, but we also at the same time need a little bit stronger federal government in order to be able to contend with everybody else. So that's why, so that's one of the reasons why it failed though, is it just wasn't strong enough to keep the states in line, couldn't tax, didn't have any authority or power over the other states. The states really could do what they wanted. Also, they didn't have the ability to have an army. So think of Daniel Shays' rebellion. You have an uprising at that time, and they really had no way of squashing that rebellion, but they still ended up doing it.
Is a funny word.
Squash. I mean, like squash,
Squash is good.
not the stuff that you eat, but like, you
No,
you squash a bug.
Zucchini is so good.
Zucchini is amazing. My dad makes the best. Just so you know.
Blueberry jelly is good.
So then, because there is a problem with the Confederation, they come together in order. Originally, did they come together to form a new constitution? What was the intent of the Continental Congress when they came together? Was it to form a new constitution?
Stop, you just clean the floor.
What was the reason for the Continental Congress to come together for this?
No, just kidding, that's not right. That's right.
Weren't they trying to solve another problem that what didn't have to do with the Constitution, just?
Right, they actually came together for the Annapolis Convention was not well attended, only 5 states bothered to send Representative Alexander Hamilton, so they were trying to come up with trade agreements. Faced with growing discontent and fearful of anarchy, the Confederation Congress, which Washington described as half-starved, limping government, reluctantly seconded the idea of a convention in Philadelphia. So, drenched in mud, I hate when they just give me the facts. The Constitution was more than a gathering of talent, however, it was also a collection of regional and individual interests. 12 dependent states. The first task was to elect a convention president. They elected Washington, of course. And then what they do is they came together really just to try to figure out how to make the Confederation better. And what they end up doing is scrapping the Confederation and coming up with a whole new constitution. One of the biggest problems that they had was how to deal with representation, though. So you have the big states wanted everybody to have representatives based on your number, the amount of your size of your population. Well, the smaller states, well, that's not fair. New York has this many people, and Virginia has this many people. Us poor little Rhode Island, we've only got like 2 people. So, you know, hey, what are we going to do? So they wanted it to be based on the number of states. So you have the Virginia plan and the New Jersey plan. So the Virginia plan, which would, let's see, James Madison had given a great deal of thought to the composition and structure of new Congress. His thorough study of political thought, both ancient and modern, and a careful planning proposal known as the Virginia Plan, which would become the basis. Madison's Virginia Plan, which was introduced to convention, advocated a bicameral or 2-house Congress, with a number of representatives would be elected by direct popular vote. The lower house, in turn, would elect members of the upper house or the Senate. So you'd have the lower house, which would then elect the people to be in the upper house. The New Jersey plan, the small state plan, preceded William Patterson, advocated a unicameral Congress, which is 1 Congress, and each state having only 1 vote regardless of the population. So you have the Virginia plan saying, let's have based on representation, the New Jersey plan saying everybody should get equal vote. So then you end up with the Great Compromise, or what they call the Connecticut Compromise, which gives us what we have today, which originally was the lower house or the House of Representatives. You are elected based on the population of the state. So, you know, a large state like New York gets like 28 to 30. A smaller state like Ohio gets, I think we're like 16 right now. We were at 18 at one point, but because people continue to leave the state, we're down to like 16, I believe is the number. Small states like South Dakota have like 1, maybe 2. But then you have the Senate, which would then have, every state would have 2 representatives in the Senate. The neat thing about this is that you'd have, the Senate was more, had longer terms, and the representatives would have more turnover. And they would, of course, divide up some of those things, those powers. Slavery. So, an interesting question I read the other day was, in the Constitution, we state that all men are created equal, And we did that in the Declaration of Independence and in the Constitution. But yet in our Constitution, we come up with a clause that says slaves will be counted as 3/5 for the purposes of counting up for representation. Was this a racist move?
No, doesn't matter what.
Not as many, but yes, most of them are Irish. They actually considered them, the Irish tend to be treated badly as well, but they were more of what we would call indentured servants, meaning they would be a slave for a period of time, but then they would be freed after the amount of time that they served was completed. The African slave trade was more of the fact that they really considered the African slave as actual property, and therefore they could control, the indentured servant, you couldn't control who they married and stuff like that, and kids. But when, with the African slave, in many respects, what they did was they actually believed that the person was their property. So if they had children, that child then became part of the property of the owner. But let's look at this 3/5 compromise here. Is this a racist statement? Yes.
I think it was because just looking at the 3/5, wouldn't that mean that some people said they should be counted as a person, and then others said that they shouldn't? So it's sort of more of a compromise, not as much that there's
So-
a third.
The North didn't want the slaves counted. The South wanted the slaves counted. Why?
It was hot in the South.
Why would the South want the slaves counted? What does that do in our political? Yes.
Wouldn't that like raise taxes or something?
No. What are we talking about in the point above?
That would give the South more representation than.
Correct. So if the slaves are counted as a whole person for the purpose that I want to stress this, for the purpose of counting for doing the census, the South would have more representatives in the House of Representatives than the North. This single compromise here is the beginning of the downfall of slavery. Because it shifted the power and the authority from southern states to the northern states. Think of the northern states. The northern states is where what happens is it starts to grow through immigration, through factories. Now, granted, the North was not much better at treating their employees than the South was at treating slaves. The only thing that was at least better in the North is you could go determine who you worked for. As a slave, you could not do that. And the sad thing is there's a lot of people in the South as Christians who justified slavery with the Bible. That the Bible okayed slavery, so it must be okay to own slaves then. Remember too, when we look at history, we cannot look at history through the same eyes and morality that we have today. Because we didn't live back in those time periods. We don't understand the way things are. Now, I'm not saying that in the sense that we should justify slavery. No, that's not at all what I'm saying. But I'm giving you some insights into how the people thought and what went on. But again, There are a lot of people in the civil rights movement who use this 3/5 in the Constitution and claim it shows that what a racist country we were, because back in those days, a black man was only worth 3/5 a person. That's not what it meant. That's not at all what it meant. It had nothing to do with the value of the person. It had to do with figuring out representation. And if you really do examine it, that 3/5 is the key to beginning to end slavery. Trade. Just go back, just two things. The two biggest blights on the United States: slavery and how we dealt with the Indians. Two of our biggest mistakes are those two things right there. Now, if we made other mistakes, yeah, of course, we could throw abortion in there. We could throw some other things in there. But, there is no country out there that's great, that's amazing, perfect country. But I will disagree with Colin Kaepernick in his statement not too long ago that America is not great and never has been. Really? We're paying you $100 million and you finally play your first game yesterday, and guess what? You lost. So, and you're still getting paid. The other thing that we did was, of course, trade, Constitutional Convention, some of the things that you're going to need to know: the separation of powers, checks and balances, what these all are, federalism, popular sovereignty, the Electoral College, and how we amend the Constitution. The other thing and we're probably going to keep working on some of this even next week, looking back at some of this stuff as we move forward with the first president and so forth. You have the Federalists, the Anti-Federalists, and there's actually Federalist Papers and Anti-Federalist Papers. So that's pretty much it. Any questions? Yes?
Can you keep this slide up?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So, like I said, I'm kind of leaning more towards an anti-federalist than I am a federalist anymore, which is really, I've kind of started leaning more towards libertarianism than the current view of conservatism. So,
Sadly, all three candidates, or I don't know about the fourth one probably, but they support abortion to a point. Like Trump says in case of rape or incest.
Wait. Oh, yeah, never mind.
yes.
Are you gonna send out the project stuff? Because I want you to work on some of it.
I will send that out. I've got an example of a pictorial essay, and I'll send you the PDF of the thing today as well, so you can get started.
I started looking up something about Michael Jackson, and I was like, why did I choose to be so weird? I
don't know what to do.
Pick just about anybody.
But like, I'm very indecisive. Okay.
No.
Choose
No.
the guy from
How do you handle multiple choice tests?
I really those stress me out so much. That's why I had to choose someone. It was Vince. He told me to choose John Wayne Gacy. Is that his name? The killer clown guy. I'm no, I stopped at killer clown. I tried to read it. No, it doesn't work for me.
Who's being a clown for Halloween? Not
What?
me.
I'm staying.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
I'm gonna stay up all night on Halloween.
Okay. We get about an 8-minute break before our next before government. Yep.